Cal, I'm a Benedictine monk in Missouri. I have a disagreement with a part of your deep life stack. Discipline is not an identity per se, but rather a tool for developing and solidifying an identity. You use value as a criteria for leading a meaningful and purposeful life shaped through code, ritual, and routine. You readily assert that you need discipline for a value to take hold, but discipline needs a reason.
Yeah, it's a good question. I get this debate a lot. I think it's one of the more unique and controversial aspects of my conception of cultivating a deep life, where I say discipline comes first. Now, Etienne here disagrees. Part of this is semantic. I think discipline is an overloaded word. We have a lot of connotations with it, often negative. We think about discipline sometimes as something being enforced upon us, the cruel headmaster disciplining the kids. We also have connotations with discipline with those who are idolizing, making a false god out of discipline itself, where we have all that matters is the discipline of what I do, and the harder things I do, and other people won't do these things this hard, and all of my self-worth just comes entirely from my discipline. This is the sort of David Goggins style philosophy of sort of building your identity around extreme feats of discipline. This was an idea that was really big and supported by Instagram culture sort of over the last decade. So it's an overloaded term. So let's use a different term just for this conversation: efficaciousness. So efficaciousness describes the degree to which you believe yourself able to actually take action towards goals. If you're an efficacious person, you say, yes, in general, I am someone who, if I have something I want to do and it's reasonable, I can do it. I can figure out how to do it. My argument, having spent a lot of time with people who are trying to turn around their lives, is that is missing a lot of times. And if that is missing, nothing else works. Even trying to determine what your values are and believing that you can build your life around those values, even that seemingly fundamental decision lays on a foundation of efficaciousness. If you do not see yourself as someone who can take action towards important things, even if it's not obligated and even if it's hard, if you do not see yourself as a person who can do that, almost any other self-developmental activity is going to be derailed. It's going to dissipate before it actually takes hold. Now, there's other people, and probably Etan, I mean, you're a Benedictine monk, so you're probably an exemplar of this other type of person where they just have this strong sense of efficaciousness. And so what matters, like right off the bat then, is like, okay, let me figure out my values and build my life around it. But most people, the average person, stumbles before they get there. So when I say discipline is an identity, what I don't mean is what matters is that you build your identity around discipline. That you become David Goggins or Cameron Haynes, that like how you define yourself and your value is through your discipline. And I agree with you fully there, Etienne, that's false idol. That's not going to get you there. But on the other hand, I think until you have built a minor foundation of efficaciousness, your efforts are likely going to be wasted. The average person's efforts are likely going to be wasted. So that's why I put discipline first. You have to just start by convincing yourself, I can do things. And there's an excitement and a motivation and a clarity and a drive that comes out of that when you then say, okay, so what do I care about? You actually care about that question. And you take it more seriously and the answers actually stick. I'm so kind of convinced about this foundational idea that I've been recently playing around with my deep life stack. And one of the configurations I've been playing around with more recently actually has a much clearer division between laying the foundations and then cultivating depth. Now, and this is very early stages. I'm just throwing out ideas here, but one of the reconfigurations I've been playing with in my notebooks recently is one where it's not just discipline comes first, but maybe we're going to do discipline, control, and maybe even throw in something like craft. So first of all, how do I convince myself I'm efficacious? Second of all, how do I just take control of all the stuff in my life, learn how to have control over what's on my plate and how it's going to get done, and how to take things off of my plate, and maybe throw in their craft. Okay, now let me take this out for a spin and show myself that I can actually get good at something when I set my mind to it. And almost seeing that in this new configuration I'm playing with, that's the foundation. Now with that foundation set, let's get serious about depth. And that's step two. Now it's, okay, what do I really value? Now I'm ready to tackle that question seriously. sacrifice. How am I sacrificing my time and attention on behalf of other people, community around me, people I care about? Let's get serious about that. There's no meaning without that. And then finally, escape or remarkability. Then now, how do I leave my legacy? How do I create the remarkable aspects of my life built around these values? I mean, I'm almost seeing now as like a very clear separation where there's this long process of just becoming, to borrow a term from Jocko, an exceptionally capable human being. And then once you do that, you say, now I can become an exceptionally deep human being. And I think when we sometimes swap these things around, it's not successful for people. Some people it is, but I think a lot of people starting with the depth before they have the capability leads to a lot of self-recrimination and dissipation. It might lead people to believe, I'm just not able to do this. I'm just fundamentally a broken person. I'm trying to like build my life around values. I can't identify them. I don't trust the values I pick. It can almost be harmful if you jump right to the cultivating depth before you've done the boring hard work of becoming a capable human being in the first place. So I don't know. I'm still playing with these thoughts of teens. So I'd like the excuse to just discuss and get some more feedback. And I love this type of feedback, but that's a little bit of an insight into how I've been thinking about this recently. All right, Jesse, let's do one more question before we do our live call-in case study, which I'm excited about.
Sounds good. Next question is from Yalan. Hi, Cal. Until 3 years ago, I used to be a deep life person. I had a schedule for each day. I studied a lot, slept well. My phone was on airplane or silent mode for most of the day, the usual stuff. But since then, I've been losing my charm. I'm having a really hard time making time for studying or even reading. I almost never plan anything ahead anymore, and I've been seriously addicted to video games. I'm an English teacher, and I have my obligations, but I never do anything beyond the obligatory area. What's more, being a teacher in Israel makes you become hooked on your phone because there are so many notifications, updates regarding what's going on with the school. You have to be aware of what's going on. I want to get back on track, and it feels extremely hard and sometimes even impossible.
You know, Jesse, what's interesting about that is a couple nights ago, I was giving a talk up at my kids' school about smartphones and kids and social media and kids. And I was talking to a family afterwards who just moved here from Israel. And they actually had the same point. They said, you know, in Israel, the phone culture is like inescapable.
Mm-hmm.
And they said here they actually felt like, so their middle schooler had a phone and everything. They said in Israel, like everything is built around like WhatsApp and notifications and how the schools operate, and everything is built around the phone for all these various different reasons. And here it feels like it's possible not to do that. And so they were wondering, can we pull it back? We had that, you know, so it's interesting. Something about Israel.
Did you read that New Yorker article like last month about the Chinese school and like all the WhatsApp and how there's 1,000 messages a day for the parents?
Yeah, how it's like completely overwhelming.
It's like the same thing.
Yeah. So I think cultural differences and tech patterns is an interesting one. But to get back to the bigger issue here, I think this goes right back to the question with the Benedictine monk that we just answered. So what we see here is kind of the opposite. So the Benedictine monk, this is basically what I mean here is this is sort of, what's the right way to put this? Yalan, I believe, has done the become a capable person piece of the deep life stack. As he talks about, he previously had it all dialed in. He's organized. He has control over his time and activities and schedules and is careful about how he uses his tools. But then he stopped before getting to the stuff that Itan, the Benedictine monk, said is important. To figuring out your values, your vision for your legacy and purpose on earth, building your life around that. So this is a really interesting point because what it shows is if you just do the first part in my plan, which is like, you got to be capable before you can really figure out how to be deep. If you just do the capable part, you don't know that's going to stick. So what happened here? You did the capable part and your mind was basically like the what purpose. And so you began escaping back into video games and found sort of the capability stuff starting to dissipate again. So Yalan, what you need to do is keep moving up the deep life stack. So once you regain, and you know how to do this, so just get back to like, okay, intentional, multi-scale planning, careful about my tools, great. Now you got to keep moving up the stack. Now you got to get really engaged on your values. What's my code? What are the rituals I use to remind myself of the value of this code on a regular basis? What is this vision on which I'm going to build my lifestyle, my purpose on earth? Maybe then throw in some sacrifice. If you're not sacrificing non-trivial time and attention on behalf of other people, you're not going to feel fully alive as a human. So you're a teacher, so there's many ways for you to reintegrate this into your life. And then finally, you have this sort of escape, remarkability, legacy piece where you have some ambitious plans that you put into your life that are meant to actually take these things you care about and push them to new extremes. And now you're working towards something. Your capability, your ability to be organized and on top of things is being deployed towards something that's important to you. I think that's what's missing. So in the last question, I said, if you just do the second part, but not the first part, that's a problem, because it's very hard to actually seek depth and sacrifice and have these legacy building projects if you're not a capable human. But what we're seeing here is if you just do the first part, that's not enough either. You're being productive for the sake of being productive is eventually going to probably be something that is not fulfilling. So we got to see both sides of the stack. Neither of them can act in isolation. You need both of them. So Yolan, I'm glad you gave me a chance to talk about that. Hey, if you like this video, I think you'll really like this one as well. Check it out.